Hi, Lance here. Are you tired of painting skies that look like this, but you would rather paint skies that look like this? In today's video, I'm going to show you the methods and the techniques that I've used over the past 30 years to paint the most realistic skies possible using a photo as our reference. If you'll stay with me, I guarantee you we'll paint some skies together. Let's take a look. Before we begin, let me share my palette with you for this particular demonstration. Here are the colors that I'll be using for painting the sky today. I always disliked it when artists show their work, but they didn't show us the actual colors. So I'm going to give you a list of the colors on the left here, as well as some pre-mixed colors, which I'll discuss as we approach them when I actually use them on the screen. Another thing I'd like to share also is I'll be posting the reference photo up in the left-hand corner here periodically, just so you can see what I'm seeing as we paint along. To begin here, I'm going to start with the sunrise area. It is a mixture of the titanium white and a little bit of the Windsor yellow. I'm going to work my way up through the sky without clouds using a round brush and then establishing just the sunrise. We have an even graduation between the bottom left-hand corner where the sun's at all the way up to the clouds. As you can tell, I'm using that round brush just to reestablish the colors that I put down during the block-in phase. And once we do that, we'll work our way through the clouds themselves. If you haven't checked out the block-in short that I made, make sure you check it out through this link. Slow it down here for just a second. As you can tell, I changed colors. This is more of an orange color. We're just adding a little bit of the burnt sienna to our yellow mixture. The further we get away from the sun, the more that color variance is going to span out to the oranges and finally until it fades out into a gray or to the blues. Here we have another change. I've actually switched over to one of my favorite brushes. This is a dagger brush. It's very unique because of its shape. It's in the shape of what else, a dagger. But I like to use this brush sometimes because it's so unique in the fact that you can paint very fine lines with it. You turn it on its edge, you can paint a good space with it. But it's just a universal brush that I use. I have several sizes of them. And as you can tell, this is a little bit of an older one because I'm wanting to get more of a blend in between the clouds and the sky itself here. Slow down one more time. As we work our way up in the horizon, we need to change over to our grayish blue color. This color is on the palette there. It's just going to be the titanium white, a little bit of cerulean blue desaturated with our burnt sienna. As we move our way up to the horizon, we're going to start to gain in the bluish color, especially as we work our way up to the clouds. We're going to fade over to our grayish cloud color. So we're changing our way up and we're working our way up to the clouds. I've added a little bit of ultramarine to our light blue mixture just because as we get closer to the clouds, the color needs to darken up a little bit as we touch the edges of the clouds. Not quite sure if you can tell or not, but I've added a little bit of our yellow mixture to the desaturated blue color. Wasn't quite happy with the transition that we were getting from the sun to the upper clouds. So adding that little bit of a greenish blue mixture is common throughout nature. Blue skies aren't always blue. Generally, during the morning time or late evening time, there can be a little bit of a green mixture as you transition from your sun to your upper sky. And finally, I have a gradient that I'm happy with. We have a consistent color from the sun to the sky. The last step I'll generally do is I'll take a sable fan brush and real gently just kind of blend it all together to soften it up and to break those hard lines across from that bottom low horizon all the way up to the clouds. Now that the areas of the sky that are without clouds has been blended up and we're really happy with that, we're going to now progress into the actual clouds in our scene. The first thing I like to do is always kind of lay out where my highlights are going in. So we're back to the round brush for this part. We're going back to our yellow mixture, our orange colors, because it's going to be reflecting the sunlight on the clouds. So I'm going to get those highlights put on, and then once we have all the highlights into place, then we'll actually start working on the medium colors and the dark areas of the clouds themselves. Now that we got the highlights done, we're going to start to transition into the mid areas from the highlights into the darker areas of the cloud. For this area, I like to warm the paint up, but not quite as warm as the highlights. But we're going to add a little burnt sienna to our grayish mixture. That way we still have the sun reflecting from the highlights, but it's still transitioning into the clouds. So it's going to be a little bit warm for this. Like I said, we're going to use a burnt sienna with our grayish mixture. And we're just kind of going to draw it into the clouds, and then we'll be able to blend that mid-range area into the darker range as we progress. We've also transitioned back over to the dagger brush, just generally because it's a larger area and I want more coverage. This area of the clouds can be a little tedious because it is the largest area of the clouds. There's really no wrong way to paint this. I just will keep looking at the reference photo, seeing where those kind of variations are in the clouds, adding a little bit of ultramarine blue to the mixture, and kind of just spacing myself around. Like I said, there's real no wrong way to paint these clouds. If you'll follow your reference, we're just kind of getting a medium tone across the coverage of the clouds. And then in the next step, after we blend it out, we'll come in and add our darker areas, and then it'll all come together. And here we are with our trusty fan brush again. Just a nice, soft, gentle swipe across the colors that we just laid down. We're really looking for just a blending of the different varieties of colors that we just applied. And we're going to just take this to the point where we're happy with it. That way, when we come in with some different darkenings and some more different colors, we'll be able to really put a highlight on the clouds that exist inside this cloud formation. And finally, we get to the detail stage where we're going to take our entire palette. We're going to add a little more ultramarine here, a little more burnt sienna there. We're just going to put in some details. We will range the full gamut of this cloud formation from the highlights to the darker colors. We're going to look at our reference photo and be able to just go across the entire photo and see where we're missing those details that really make the cloud formation pop. There's no wrong or right to this. Like I said earlier, we're just going to stare at our reference and we're going to just paint what we see. One of the biggest faults I find with today's painters who want to paint realistically is painting what they know instead of painting what they see. If we'll just paint what we see instead of what we know, I guarantee you our paintings are going to look more like the photo reference than they would if we were to do it the other way around. Here's a quick tip. Don't be afraid to break out that fan brush and knock down some of those hard edges. Feel free to use it anywhere that you feel like it needs a little extra blending. Well, that about does it for this video. Here's the final scene. Hopefully you found some value in the methods and the techniques that I've shared with you here today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section and consider subscribing to the channel. I'll be releasing more content with more methods and techniques as soon as I can. Until next time, happy painting.